The world of finance is definitely exciting for those of us with a keen interest in it. However, in terms of mass appeal, it's not exactly thrilling. So when Hollywood decides a story of your life in finance is deserving of a feature-length film, needless to say, you're doing okay. Micheal Burry has achieved legendary status amongst finance folk for his big money moves, but also for his foresight to see the 2008 crash when nobody else did. Not only did he see the subprime mortgage crisis coming, he even benefited from it. And since then, he hasn't slowed down one bit, being a big part of the GameStop surge of the past year. So clearly, this is somebody we should all be keeping an eye on. In today's video, we're gonna see what this titan of finance has to offer us in this gloomy market. As of late, Micheal Burry has been spending a lot of his time trying to warn investors about the instability of the current stock market, cautioning that stock market speculation has hit levels that we have not seen since the cusp of the Great Depression, even going further to say that assets are substantially more overvalued than before the dot-com bubble burst, both of which implies that another big crash may be coming soon. He has specifically taken aim at Tesla stock, which is notoriously overvalued as the stock is outperforming both earnings and growth capabilities, predicting that the company's shares could tank by up to 90%. However, in terms of general views on the matter, it's not widely believed that Tesla stock will or even could fall that much, but Burry has proven us all wrong before. Now we've talked about what he's saying, but what is he doing? We now have access to his third quarter filings and are eager to know whether his words and actions line up. And it certainly seems so, much in line with his massive offloading strategy which he's been following for the majority of this year. Micheal Burry has continued to sell off the majority of his positions in companies he was invested in previously, indicating that he's not all talk but seems to be bracing for the storm. There are even several companies he dumped 1% of his support for: Golden Ocean, GRP, GOGL, VY Global Growth, VYGG, and VY Global Growth, WTS 010130, VYGG.WS. The former of which he owned a nearly 6% stake in. A few more that he has a huge stake in that was completely sold off include Scorpion Tankers Incorporated, which he owned 9.62% stake, Marinus Pharmaceuticals, of which he owned 8.15% stake, and Suncoke Energy Inc., which he owned 8.12% stake in. And if all these sells weren't scary enough to begin with, he is selling more and more stakes in companies that it seems he's no longer confident will weather the storm. He sold nearly 20% holding in Discovery Communications and almost 14% in Ovintiv Incorporated. And remember, these are just the stocks that he sold 100% of his holdings in. There were still more that he sold a large stake in, but without completely pulling out. These include selling over half of his holdings in GEO Group Incorporated and almost 70% of his holdings in Core Civic Incorporated as well. This indicates that while he's no longer confident in these holdings, he's not ready to completely give up on them yet. There was, however, one stock that he kept 100% of his shares in, and that was CVS Pharmaceuticals Incorporated. In addition to all these sales, he actually did add a few more stocks to his portfolio in this quarter, and they include Lockheed Martin Corp., an American aerospace arms defense information security and technology corporation with worldwide interests, followed by Now Inc., a global distributor of oil and gas and industrial markets, and CY Nexus Incorporated, a biotechnology company which is currently on a hot streak. So it seems he's focusing on things he knows he can count on: war, oil, and drugs. There is definitely a method to all these big moves. It doesn't take a genius to see that he's definitely taking his own words to heart, shoring up his investments in things he knows would survive another crash, or as he has called it, the mother of all crashes. All of this came from his 13F filings from the last quarter, so it's not what he's currently doing, but it is the most up-to-date information we have on his movements, so it's definitely a good indication that he's offloading stocks to hold cash for some big buys after the crash. His actions are directly in line with his position on the current market, often saying that the climate is reminiscent of the dot-com bubble, while the excessive speculation is similar to that leading up to the Great Depression. He has recently been talking a lot about the similarities with the economy and the market at large leading up to several of the worst financial catastrophes of recent memory, solidifying his views that there's another one right around the corner, and his actions of liquidating investments and hoarding cash reserves proves that he truly believes his theories and is ready to make the most of it. Micheal Burry is a legendary investor who has time and time again proven us and many so-called financial gurus wrong. He has made a career for himself making smart investments and having a sixth sense for markets. Throughout the year, he's been selling off 100% of many of his holdings while reducing the shares of the ones he held onto dramatically. Beyond that, the choices he made in terms of new purchases shows that he's not taking any risks on this financial climate. In addition to liquidating many stocks in his portfolio, Burry is following suit with another juggernaut investor, Warren Buffett, by holding massive cash reserves, something usually done in preparation of a big crash, so they are ready, money in hand, to earn a big profit off the impending disaster.